In 1, 2, and 3. Hi everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, episode number 37. It is November 9th. My name is Rick Zanotti, and next to me, right over here, you can see him, is Terrence Wing, fresh back from Las Vegas.
I never know which way to point when I'm looking at the
you
camera.
are this way. You're that way.
There we go. I think you're my right hand.
Yeah, you're on my left, and I must be on your right then, I think.
Yeah, you're on my right. There we go.
Okay, there we go.
So
if we look at each other,
points,
hey, how you doing, Terrence? How's it going?
The crazy things we do here on eLearnChat. But thanks for the welcome, Rick. Great to see you. And today we have this is eLearnChat history in the making. We have Brent Schlenker with us. And there's two records Brent has broken. So now we have to challenge every future eLearnChat guest to break this. Brent has had the highest, his first appearance, which this is the first time we've had 2 appearances by anybody on eLearnChat. So that's the first record that Brent has broken. And the second record is that he's had the highest amount of live viewers during his first show. So that was at about 33. Not at about, it was 33 viewers, so we'll have to see if he can break his own record today. And without further ado, let me welcome Brent Schlenker. Hello, Brent.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I should say there's more important things that you have done besides break an eLearnChat record, but tell us a little bit about yourself for those viewers, the 1 or 2 of the thousands of viewers that don't know you.
Oh, well, of course, thank you. First of all, thanks for having me, and coming off a great DevLearn, absolutely. I am the program director for DevLearn and the new media and emerging technologies analyst for the eLearningGuild. And, yeah, I think that's a good way to start. Okay,
great. Now, for those of you that are joining us, today is we're recapping DevLearn, and DevLearn is a yearly one of several conferences that the eLearningGuild puts on. And Brent, is that the only conference that you manage, or do you kind of get involved with all 3 of the conferences?
I'm involved with all 3 of them as well, but just not as heavily. You know, it's a team effort. We wouldn't be able to pull it off without the great guild team. So we all play an important role in every show that we put on. So yeah, this DevLearn just happens to be the one that I sort of spearhead as far as the program's concerned.
So tell us, from the perspective, and I know we had this conversation via Twitter about perspective, and that you're close to it. Perhaps you didn't feel that it was the best perspective to give. But the great thing is we have people in the chat room who attended too, and I attended as a participant as well. So we get all angles covered here. But from your perspective, how'd the conference go?
Yeah, well, from my perspective, I think it went great. I mean, I had nothing but, like you said, sometimes I feel like I get skewed comments coming my way, but it just felt good. It felt like a great conference. There was all sorts of buzz. Everybody was learning and sharing, which was the fun part. And, people were excited about the keynotes. The atmosphere in the expo was always vibrant and energetic, and the vendors that were in the expo were really, really happy with all of the traffic coming through. We had, of course, the stages were bringing people in with extra content. The concurrent sessions were growing great. People were really happy there. It just kept moving right along, and everybody was happy. So it was, a huge success in my mind. I was just really happy the whole time. So now the hard part is now always the fear of how do we top that? So
the back channel was really positive too. I was watching. I wasn't able to make it, but I was watching the back channel, and everybody had pretty good positive comments. I didn't hear any complaints, or at least read any complaints.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, the little things that happen, whenever you pull, 1,800 people together into one spot, you're going to have little tiny issues, but that's where the team comes in, and we have a fabulous group of folks that whenever we see stuff come up on in the back channel, which is one of the great things about the back channel. We address it right away, and if there's if anybody comes up to any one of us at the event, in the blue shirts, and they have a problem or an issue of some sort, we tackle it right away and make sure that that everybody's happy. So
you call hotel security, they move them away, right?
That's right. Take them out. No, but we didn't have to do any of that. There were no brawls in the hallways or anything like that. So just
no Addy versus other kind of things, right?
Yeah, nothing like that. No, nothing but a great big e-learning love fest.
Terrence stayed under control. This is good.
I'm always under control. I was sick for the tail end of it too, so that probably kept me under control. Just not having the energy to be a disruptor. But since you started off talking about the back channel, the guild made some very specific efforts in stimulating the back channel, and Dave is actually in the chat room with us. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your strategy was with approaching the back channel this year, Brent?
Yeah, so we've been doing this for years now. I remember the first time that Twitter sort of started bubbling up and becoming popular with the alpha geeks, right? And we decided to just throw it into the mix. A few years ago now, and I remember it was small. Just a few people even knew what in the heck it was, and that's when Web 2.0 was becoming really big. So each year it just gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and as people get more into the whole social media world and figure out really how to deal with these fabulous new tools, we as an event and as an e-learning community have to do the same thing and figure it out. So it's fairly obvious to me and to I think many others that curating content and trying to make sense of all the content that's out there is really one of the big trends and going to be one of the big issues that we start to deal with as a community. And so it was really important that we talk about it at DevLearn. That's in my mind, that's what DevLearn is all about. And so what we decided to do this year specifically was I figured that the stream was going to be just going super fast, kind of like trying to follow eLearnChat, right? You've just got hundreds of people all feeding content into the Twitter stream, and it's just going to fly by, and you're always going to miss something if you're not constantly connected. So we found David Kelly, or he found us, one or the other. I don't know how you want to even mention that, but he's been curating content for events just on his own on his blog and doing a really great job. And he's just kind of mastered a style of pulling in all of the key links and being able to really get that content pulled in. And so instead of just having him out on the sidelines just doing it the way he normally does, we said let's invite him in and let's give him some access to some of our systems and some of the back channel area, and get him at the event, right? And doing what he does, but also being connected to that back channel. So he can kind of act as an ambassador to those folks that couldn't actually make it to the event, but are just following along at home, if you will.
Yeah, David was great on the back channel, and it kept him out of trouble by doing that. That was clever.
Yeah,
he's quiet. He's quiet in the chat room right now.
Very quiet. Right? He's thinking they're on to me.
No, he did a great job for us. And the great thing is that he's still doing a great job. I mean, there's still content coming into that back channel. That's what's so fabulous about it. People are of course, we're all gone from the event. Everybody's gone back to work. They're at their desks. And I think typically, I've even felt this in the past, you leave an event, you go back to your desk, the chaos of the business is, still at your desk. You're trying to dig yourself out of whatever hole you've found yourself in now that you've been gone for a week, and you start getting just all of a sudden you're distracted by everything else back in the office again. You've got a great stack of notes and whatnot, and you just not too sure what to do with it, and sometimes you don't do anything with it, and that's really sad. And I think the whole reflective learning process is really important. So the back channel kind of helps stimulate that for people. I think they get back to their desk, they might immediately get sucked back into the day-to-day, but then maybe they hit Twitter and they're like, oh yeah, there's still conversations going on, and it starts sparking that reflective thinking and getting them to remember, oh yeah, I've got notes on that, I want to do a blog post on that particular link that I found, or that speaker was so awesome I wanted to say thanks, or make that happen. So then they blog, and that cues somebody else, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that as well. And so so it just keeps going and going and going, and that's the great thing about the back channel.
Now, Brent, there was also
I support it.
I remember seeing a fake DevLearn.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. I don't know who started it or where it came from, but did you see that?
I did see that, yeah, and we were just howling. I thought it was fabulous. That's the beauty of the back channel, I mean, you get it. We've got a lot of creative folks in our industry, and so last year it was we used the hashtag DL10, and this year we used the hashtag DevLearn. And so last year it was the group that wasn't at the event, but they were really active in the back channel and following along. They called themselves DL10 Not. And as in not at the event, but still a part of it, which was fabulous. And so we wanted to support that. And now this time around, somebody, and I'd love if somebody knows who actually started that meme. I'd love to know.
It was funny. I started like a fake DevLearn, and they said they had a better keynote speaker and everything.
I want to say Shannon Tipton had something to do with it, because she was the first ones that I saw with it, and I think she instigated it.
Oh yeah! It just made for some hilarious conversation and just making funny stuff up. It was a lot of fun. I was I mean it was very good, very very well done. added some it lightened the mood a lot, as things started to get, really fast-paced, intense, and really diving into e-learning. It was nice to kind of lighten up and laugh at ourselves a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I saw an interesting, at least what appears to be the beginning of an interesting alliance between the Guild and ASTD. Anything you could tell us about what the relationship that's growing there?
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly all the details, but we've always had a good relationship with ASTD. Sure. And it's fun to take an event like DevLearn that's growing and growing and growing, and being able to really involve everybody that's in the industry, and help everybody have that conversation that we know everybody wants to have, and to be able to have it in one place. So to be able to have program partners like ASTD and like Burson and Associates, and we also have conversations with Brandon Hall. He speaks at our events. Every once in a while, and we get some of his people there. There are a lot of organizations that we really want to, bring in, to the DevLearn space, and really just, support the whole community of e-learning. And there's always opportunities for everybody. And I was just really happy that it worked out this year the way that it did. And, so it's great.
Yeah, I was really glad to see that, because both organizations are incredible resources for us. And although don't get me wrong, I never felt that there was any competitive pressure between the two. So it was just great to see a level of embracement between the two organizations, because I think you both have very unique perspectives on L&D, and it's good to see. I'm looking forward to see what else is going to happen out there, what other new relationships are going to emerge.
Sounds like we're in an era of perestroika right now.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like anything else, everything keeps moving forward, you know. And I just like to see the momentum, you know. That's the thing that I think is great. I like to see, you know, everybody seeing the same opportunities, seeing the same changes in the industry, seeing, you know, places for all of us to be able to partner and to work with each other and to just really, you know, support the really hardworking e-learning designers and developers that are out there that really, you know, they don't really care about the, you know, the politics and the business of all of this. You know, they just need help. They need resources. How can I be better as a one-person e-learning, you know, department? And, you know, how do I work better with my team? How do I manage the LMS that I have? How do I learn these new tools that are coming out? You know, we're all striving to support the community, and I just love that everybody's coming together and you know, making it you know, just a concerned effort to support the community, because that's really what we're all here for, right? I mean, that's what you guys are here for too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, were there any announcements made with the vendors? Any of the things at the show that were new, impactful? Anything that we should all keep our eyes on?
You know, so I have to, you know, admit that I miss out on a lot like everybody else. And, you know, I run through the expo and I try to meet everybody and talk. And I know there's some great stuff in there. There were some great launches, but I don't have all of it that I can, you know, commit to memory. So forgive me, anybody, if I leave you out. I hope there's people in the back channel that can help us out here maybe. But I know that they were literally the day before DevLearn, the Zebra Zaps came out of beta and went fully live, and that was really exciting. Let's see. Of course, Storyline from Articulate was there, and you know, there's a lot of buzz around that product. I believe it was a new Spring that also launched a new product or a new service at the event in the expo. Let's see, who can help me out here in the back channel if you saw something else. Yeah, I'm not.
No, nobody's mentioning anything in there.
Nobody's chiming in, huh? Where are my?
You know, there was some rapid intake, and their mobile app was there. I don't know if that's new. I think that's been out for a while.
I think it's been out a little bit earlier this year.
Yeah, you know, hopefully they've worked some of their bugs out of it. I'm sure they have, as every software has bugs.
Yeah, yeah. You know, that's my. You know, it's funny that you even bring this up. I mean, it's kind of been my personal commitment for myself for next year is to, I like having my thumb on the pulse of everything that's going on in the industry and talking to everybody. And you know, I want to be able to, you know all of the new products that are coming out and be able to just, you know, be able to rattle that stuff off. But, you know, currently I'm just not. I'm not as dialed in as I would really like to be when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I think that for me is a good thing to be focusing on next year. I mean, I know all of this stuff and I hear about it when it happens, but I need to you know, sort it out in my head a little bit better.
Yeah.
So.
I know I was seeing some of the things with Storyline. Tom Coleman was showing doing demos on the iPad, so it's great to see, you know, that everybody doesn't need HTML to think about the iPad, you know, to think about delivering training or learning via the iPad. So that's great that option's out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, I'll just say in general, I think our vendors and the tools that they're coming up with and the technologies that they're employing, all of the new cutting edge technologies that deal with mobile, that deal with the cloud and social connectivity, you know, all of our vendors are working really, really hard to take their existing content and moving in that direction and supporting the needs of e-learning professionals that are working so hard to figure out how to deal with all of this rapid change and the pace of technology. So it takes a little while. The technology changes first, and then we follow. It's just part of the deal. We don't we can't expect to be innovators of brand new technologies. Other companies, other businesses really do that. Other industries, other sectors, just the general tech sector as a whole, drives that and all that innovation. And really what we master and what we need to continue to do well is look at what our users are doing. When a new technology finally busts out of that alpha geek only phase and starts rolling into the mainstream, well, guess what? That means our learners are starting to use those technologies, and we as instructional design, e-learning design developers, professionals need to be able to figure out, okay, here's a new tool that my user base, my learners are engaging with, a new social tool, or it's a new mobile device, or a new bit of functionality that's part of the mobile scene, or the cloud, and there's new ways of dealing with cloud technology. Then that's when we start looking at it and go, okay, now help me understand. We can't chase all of the new cutting edge technologies that are out there. For us, it's always about our users. I always say it's always about the people. It's not about the technology, unless the people we're dealing with are starting to utilize a new technology. Then that's our time to step in and say, how can we utilize this technology to help them be better at what they do, perform better, learn better, be more knowledgeable, and to help themselves improve.
Sure. Now, your strategy for your marquee was quite interesting too, and quite the out of the box effort from you guys at the guild. What went into the thinking on what keynotes, like who to bring in as a keynote speaker? I thought you did a wonderful job with it.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, it all came together so nicely. It was, it's difficult to do. There's just a little insight into how all this stuff works for people that might not know. It's like there's all these agencies out there that'll call you and say, hey, I've got this speaker for your event. How about checking this guy out or this gal out, or this guy's got a new book, or you should have them, call me, let's talk about it. And it would be so easy to just say, book her, book him, boom, done. But there has to be more thought put into it than that. There's like what we try to do as e-learning professionals, we try to tell a story, right? Storytelling is a really big deal right now, and it's not just because it's a new trend. It helps people put everything into a box and to shape their experience. And so really that's what I try to do, is I try to mold what I think everybody's experience should be, and that's based on where the technology is going. That's based on just conversations that I have throughout the year with other e-learning professionals. What are they being confronted with? What do they want to learn about? What do they see as the future trends? Where are we going? Where do we need to see ourselves? And I've always kind of had my eye on Dr. Kaku. I've always thought he was just so fabulous ever since I watched his shows on the the History Channel and whatnot with my kids, and but I kept thinking to myself, maybe he's too far out there. Well,
no, the fact that he even showed up from the other dimension was really cool. I love Michio Kaku. I've read most of his books, and he's really actually very interesting. He's on that fringe edge of where quantum physics is going, which is neat.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think that would be a very decent place for an e-learning conference to be talking. Maybe it's too far out there. Maybe we can't make the leap from what he's talking about to what we're doing. But I saw somebody Twitter something earlier last year, and they said, I just got to interview Dr. Kaku, and here's the link to the interview. And I'm like, oh, cool! Wow, this guy got an interview with him. So and it's a pretty casual one. So I click on it and I watch it, and there wasn't much. It was the typical stuff, but then at the bottom it said, part 2, we'll talk about X, Y, Z, and then I noticed he said, and we'll talk about education and learning, and I was like, ooh, that's what I want to see. So I watched it, and I loved his response to the questions about where education and learning was going, and right there, that was my proof that he could, in fact, even if it was just off the cuff, he could engage an e-learning audience, and he totally got us and what we go through and where education was. And like I said, I mean, we follow the technology, we follow where things are going. So to start the event really big like that and say, okay, here is somebody who spends their whole life figuring out what's going to be going on in the future, not just your random futurist, but a theoretical physicist that actually has a personality and can communicate and can talk to people. I thought, wow, what a find. And so to get him to come in and to talk about not just where he kind of sort of thinks because of certain things are going, he can legitimately say, this is why, as a physicist, I can say with a fairly decent amount of accuracy, this is where the technology is going to be headed. Maybe not specifically, but
and true. And what's interesting about him is that he's a science fiction fanatic. When he was growing up, he would read every single story. It was all about the story, and that got his imagination going. And before he knew it, he's a full-fledged nuclear quantum physicist, or theoretical physicist in his case, and but he's an influencer. If you look at some of the way research is going, he's definitely been influencing some of those steps that people are taking. It's really fascinating, and you're right. He's one of the few that can actually communicate. I know some personally. I know some rocket scientists and quantum physicists who you don't want to ask them questions.
No.
Yeah, I just thought he did a great job. I think he laid it all out there very, very, very nicely, and he painted that really great, big, high level picture for us. And at the risk of
it's all about the great LMS in the sky.
Yeah.
It's really.
Oh God, no.
And not to go on too much of a tangent here, but the Science Network has a program coming out, I think next month, on science fiction authors and how close they came to actually predicting what the future would look like.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so you may want to check your listings for that
That's
one.
on the Science Channel?
I can't remember. Yeah, it's on the Science Channel.
Cool.
I can't remember what the name is, though.
That'd be fun. I grew up with all those authors too. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we'll have to see.
So after that, to kind of get back to your question, Terrence, so we started off really big, and with the cloud being a trend that everybody's looking at, it's a pretty obvious one. We brought in Tom Koulopoulos to talk about the cloud and where he sees that going, and so that kind of took us from the very, very high level down a notch, to a new technology, a newer trend that's occurring that we need as an industry, we need to deal with. And I thought he did a fabulous job as well. And then we had Steve Rosenbaum bring us down another level and talk about curation of content, and what does that mean? What does that mean to us? How does that fit? And it was interesting that sort of at all three levels, they all touched a little bit on each other's topic, which was I didn't anticipate really. I mean, not that much. Steven Rosenbaum talked a little bit about cloud stuff. Tom talked a little bit about curation and how we're going to be organizing content, and they all talked about the future of technology and kind of where they saw that going, and dipping into that space a little bit. And so, I mean, I couldn't have been happier with how well that all weaved together. But like I said earlier, now I have to try to figure out how to do it for next year. So how to paint that story again. So, I got a lot of work ahead of me, but it's best, most fun work I've done.
Yeah, well, and since you mentioned next year, I'll have to ask and put you on the spot here and say, any thoughts on maybe a hint on what's going to surprise us next year?
I can't even begin to tell you. I appreciate the question, but
And by the way, nobody's watching, so you can tell us.
That's right.
I got
between the three of us.
Yeah, just between the three of us.
Other than I know for sure that we're definitely going back to the ARIA next year, which I'm really excited about. I know there's a handful of people that really just in general don't like going to Vegas, either because they're there a lot for other conferences or
I think
vibe
it's a smoke.
just doesn't work.
I think
for 'em.
mostly it's a smoke for a lot of people.
Yeah, it can be that too. But I have to tell you this. I'm not a big Vegas goer myself, and heck, I only live in Phoenix. 5.5 hour drive away. I could be there all the time if I wanted to, and I don't go that often. And I've been to other events in Vegas in other venues. And when I had a chance to just tour the ARIA for the first time, it just really impressed me, and just was an incredible new hotel, cutting edge, everything, technology in the rooms, technology in the conference center, how it's all laid out, how easy it was to get around. There's still a walk, from the rooms to the convention center. But honestly, I didn't think, relative to some of the hikes I've taken, at Vegas events, I thought this one was pretty moderate, from the room to the conference center. And the beautiful thing that I don't think you can find in any of the other Vegas hotels is that if you wanted to, after you checked in, you kind of have to walk through the casino, but you could go from your room straight to the conference center without having to walk through the casino.
Yeah, that's actually nice.
And it's a little thing, and most people maybe didn't even realize that they were doing that. But to me, I mean, it's just one of those little things that we really try to look for, and try to help solve those little problems that can be kind of annoying when it comes to events. And I just thought the ARIA did just a fabulous job in putting together their space. And so I'm really, really excited to go back. Now that we've been there once, and now that we've got a feel for the place, I think we're going to be starting to put together some pretty creative uses of the space. And that's honestly, that's really all I can say. We haven't, nothing planned further than that, other than really excited to know that we're going back there, and that, with one under our belts in that venue, I can guarantee you we're going to be thinking of some really, really cool stuff we can do with that space.
Now, Brent, just for people who are curious, what's the difference between Learning Solutions and the DevLearn show?
Yeah, so, fairly common question. So DevLearn traditionally, and I think remains kind of it's the geeky, intermediate to advanced, high tech, high geek factor event. And that's what's really kind of fun about it. We still do have some, introductory sessions, not as many as Learning Solutions might have, because obviously, with the technology changing so much, we have to introduce people to it, but in general, we try to keep it really on that cutting edge, that forward looking, what's happening right now with the technology, what can you use now and apply, and working with the technology. You've already been working with e-learning for a while, and so you can really start taking those next steps to move forward. But with that said, I've chatted with a lot of newbies who are brand new to the industry, and just kind of randomly found DevLearn, and they got a ton out of attending DevLearn as well. So while we try to push the envelope and use DevLearn to pull everybody forward, and bring everybody along as far as the technology is concerned, we still do step it back a little bit every now and then. So on the learning solutions side, it's much more womb to tomb sort of approach to an event. We try really hard. Obviously, it's still an e-learning event, so there's technology, and we talk technology heavily, but we really try to spread it out and support the whole gamut of e-learning and instructions, from the very beginning to intermediate all the way up to the advanced, and really kind of help everybody across the board and really spread out what's happening in the e-learning industry. A little bit heavier focus on the design side of things, as opposed to the technology side of things. But again, I think they both have a really great mix in both areas, so you really can't go wrong.
One thing that I really respected about the Guild too was the amount of new voices that you put on stage. There was Lisa Goldstein, who I don't remember or recalling being able to see her at or present at other conferences. Don Bolin. I think Don has presented before, but I mean that's a name that you're not used to seeing on the schedule, and it was great seeing these users present, and the usual suspects are great to hear from too, but those messages can sometimes, if you go to enough conferences, you hear the same message over and over again. So it was really refreshing to to hear these new voices like Lisa, like Don, and even a chance to, I don't think Dave presented, but he definitely was very visible to people, and almost having impromptu discussions all over the place. So great job with creating the environment for that.
Yeah, thank you. And it's I tried really hard to do that this year. And you're the first one to really mention that. It really means a lot to me. I tried. I tried really hard to do that. I think that's what the Guild is all about. I wanted to give, as many people as I possibly could, with the limited amount of rooms and the limited amount of blocks of sessions. I wanted to try to give as many people that were out there, the practitioners that are really out there doing the work, as much of an opportunity to speak as any of the seasoned veterans. And to be honest, I probably upset a few people this year, but I think it was worth it. I think it's a big risk because a lot of first timers may not be really polished professionals. But when I go through the proposal process and I talk to them, I know they have a good message. I know they have a good story to tell. I know they've learned something, and they've put something into play that I think that others would want to know or be interested in, or that I think our industry needs to hear about. And and it's hard. It's hard. The hardest thing is trying to figure out how to place all of the great proposals we get every year, and to find a home and for each one, and to give each person that really has something to say a venue to talk about their experiences. And the saddest, hardest part of my job is telling people no. I hate that. It's the worst, but it's got to be done. But this year I felt really good about being able to, have a lot of sessions and give a lot of newbies, for lack of a better term, a chance to show their stuff. And I'll tell you, you mentioned Lisa Goldstein. She's a perfect example. I could rattle off a few other names as well that it worked out like this. But this year, Lisa last year attended a session on a one-person training department. And I don't know if it was like right after she attended that session or right after the event, I got an email from her saying, I attended this session. I'm a one-person band too, and I think, I've got a lot of tips and I've learned a lot, and I think I can share a lot in that space as well. And so, as the year went around, I told her, I said, awesome, that's great. Submit a proposal, stay in touch, and and let me know, and we'll try to work you in on the program. And she did, and she submitted, and we kept talking, and and so 1 year she is sitting in a room, watching, learning, and sharing as a participant. The next year she's put together an awesome presentation, and we've got her up there, telling everybody about how some best practices that she's discovered, being a one-person training department in the organization that she's at. And then that to me is awesome. I love being able to do that and being able to give the e-learning industry and those folks that are excited about sharing, to give them a platform to talk about what they love, what their passion is. I mean, that's how I got started.
And you bring in new blood, which is important, because otherwise you hear the same thing over and over and over again.
Exactly.
So it's good to get that new blood.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so it's, it's refreshing for me. And I tell you, as I reflect on the frustrations of the job of having to say no to people, that's really the wonderful part of my job, is being able to say yes and giving people that opportunity. I love that.
Now, Brent, if you can hold on for a minute or two, we're going to do a quick news segment. Terrence is going to host the news today, and then we'll get right back and wrap up the show.
Perfect.
We have news music now. Listen to that.
Yeah. And now the news. Well, here's our first story, and it's a downer.
Yes, boo. Adobe announced that they are going to lay off 750 employees, and I'm glad you put that one first, Rick, so we can get all the bad
we'll get all the bad
out of
news
the way.
Out. And unfortunately, Adobe has a really lousy habit of doing this at year end. Good way to go, Adobe. Classy.
Very happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays from Adobe. Classy.
Yep.
Well, anyway, let's move on to better news.
Better news. And our next story is. This was an interesting one. CNET reported this, that the iOS camera has a panorama mode that's been embedded but hidden for whatever reason. It's speculated that Apple just didn't want to launch it yet, but it's not. This isn't hacking or stealing. It's actually it's already on your phone. So apparently a hacker on Twitter, his Twitter handle is CHPWN, he found a way to uncover the camera panorama mode, and he posted it to Twitter. So if you go to that news story on CNET, you can actually get the instructions on how to do it. So that was kind of cool.
Then our next story is about Google.
Yes, and if you and Rick and Gina had a great conversation yesterday, so you can go look at the Shrek Tech archives to hear their discussion on Google+. But they had launched their business pages on Monday, so we'll see where that goes. It's I made sure I jumped in there to get my company name in there, but apparently it doesn't matter. I don't think there are dedicated names. Because there was a few that I tried that I was surprised that I got as a name. And then I did a search on it, and other people had the same name. So I'm not quite sure yet. I haven't played around enough to talk intelligently about it, but it is available. So if you're a business, go at least get your name on there.
Next story is about Thunderbird.
Yeah, I personally don't use this email software from Mozilla, but Thunderbird 8 arrived on Monday. So for those of you that do use it, you have a new version.
At least
out
16
there.
users. Yeah, it's really good.
Is it good? Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm just joking. There's like 20 users who use it.
Yeah.
I think we used it. We used it about 15, 17 years ago when it first came out. Long time ago, and it was okay. It was one of the better ones back then. I'm trying to remember if it had the same name, but yeah, one more mail thing.
Yep. So they're out, and I think we have one more story, don't we?
One more.
Drum roll. New site, new review site app has come out, and it's called Wickets. That launched on Monday, so it has a kind of interesting look to it. I played around with it, but haven't gotten into too much detail on it, and it is a kind of like a Yelp, but on your iPhone. I believe it's only Apple. I don't think it has the Android app yet.
No, the Android site is going to be called Rickets, according to Apple. But
I don't know if I want to get stuck with that name. So that is it for the news. Thanks for the new news music there, Rick.
That wasn't me.
Oh, that wasn't you?
No, I think that was Brent's one of his notifications.
That was my phone. My wife was calling.
Oh, well,
that was a perfect introduction to the news.
It was just perfect timing. Yeah, she's good that way.
Hopefully, we didn't infringe on any tune copyright laws there, but we'll have to go with it nonetheless. Yeah, Brent, anything out there for you to promote? I know you have a blog, and that is, oh gosh, I don't have it in front of me.
eLearnDev.blogspot.com is my blog, which has been kind of silent the few week or so leading up to the DevLearn, just because things get so crazy busy. But of course, there's the eLearningGuild site. Learning Solutions is coming up in March, which is going to be awesome. We have the online forums as well. The back channel stuff is you can find at what do we call it? Backchannel .devlearn11.com, and you can also we tested out a new service called Hashcaster this year. You can check out devlearn.hashcaster.com. I think both of those links have been flying around the Twitter stream. Most people probably already have them, but for anybody listening to this that hasn't checked out the back channel information, that's a great place to go to find some cool stuff. So
great.
Yep. That's the big stuff.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Brent. Always a pleasure to spend some time with you, and thanks for breaking the record a couple of times.
Yeah, thanks. So how many did we have today? Did I break my old record?
You did.
Well, you still have the old record.
Oh, okay.
We didn't quite get the numbers up to where it was last time.
1.2 million.
I need to promote myself better, I guess. Huh? Anyways, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been loads of fun. I appreciate the opportunity to reflect a little bit on DevLearn. Thank you.
Sounds good, and thank you. And Terrence, we'll see you next week. What do we have going on next week?
Next week we have Donna, and I will butcher her name, I'm sure, Jilliland.
Jillian.
Is it Jillian?
I believe it's Jillian or Gillian.
There's a few L's in there that are strategically placed, so I don't know if any of them are silent. But if they're silent, it's Jillian. If they're not silent, it's Gillian. I don't know. But wonderful personality. If you probably follow her on Twitter, she's got a few thousand followers. She's going to be talking to us about LinkedIn and how to maximize the use on that platform.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Anyway, for all of you watching in the chat room, thanks a lot. And for all of you subscribing, keep it up. Thanks a lot, everybody. We will see you guys next week on eLearnChat.
Absolutely.
Bye, Brent. Bye, Terrence.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.